I, 52 female, have 3 sons, ages ranging from young teens to 20. My oldest son, 20, has a girlfriend, 19, who often hangs around our house. It's a really small house and doesn't have a lot of space. She's a nice girl, but gets on my nerves sometimes because she's always over. She's not right for my son either. Our tap water has a weird aftertaste, so I order gallon water bottles and use them to refill a big glass bowl with a tap. It's not cheap to get water and other groceries delivered, so I tell my son's husband and girlfriend to be courteous of the other people who live here and not use up the water, as it runs out fast in our big household. Yesterday, I caught her filling up her big metal water bottle with the jug water, and I calmly told her that other people live here too, and she shouldn't hog the water all to herself. She was rather short with me and said something like, "Actually, this water bottle's big enough to hold all the water someone should be drinking in a day. I'm not hogging water. I'm just trying to stay hydrated." I found her tone to be disrespectful and ordered her to leave. She scoffed and went back to my son's room. That's when I got frustrated. I opened their door and told her she had to leave. My son got really angry at me and told me that his girlfriend didn't do anything wrong and asked why it's a crime for her to drink water. I explained that I ordered this water for our family to use, not leeches who hang around all day, rent-free. My son's girlfriend got a little teary-eyed and left the room and out the front door without saying anything. My son told me that I was a major idiot and should have just minded my business. I think she's just wasteful and a brat. Am I the idiot? There isn't really a difference between fills up the bottle once with enough water for the day and drinks the same amount of water, 1 cup at a time. Bottled water does cost money, but if that's a problem, asking her to contribute money would be a more logical first step. You are the idiot for pretending this is about water when it's not. Also, get a Brita filter if buying water in this insane way is too much trouble and you have to act like you're rationing for a war. You are the idiot. You kicked an adult out of your home for drinking water. It's a weird power trip to deny someone hydration. You choose to have the source of water. Or, crazy idea here, she could have brought her bottle already filled from her home instead of using resources in a house she doesn't actually live in. You're right, it's not about the water. It's about the attitude. OP tried being polite, and she got attitude in return. Then the girl doubled down with even more attitude when the owner of the house asked her to leave. The girl seems to be forgetting that she doesn't live in this house and shouldn't treat it as her own. OP's not the idiot. It's not wasteful for her to pour herself a glass or a bottle of water. It's just that OP doesn't like her and doesn't want her using it. I sense a future nightmare mother-in-law from this woman. I really doubt the girlfriend specifically is the problem. OP, if you don't want her over at your house, or you want to be compensated for the extra water, have that be the issue that you take up with your son, not with her, and address it separately. I think you missed the point. The water was the tip of the iceberg. And why does OP owe his adult son's girlfriend one single thing? He's not paying for it. OP isn't. So can I come to your house and eat all your food and drinks, then act indignant if you don't like it? The girlfriend is the idiot for not respecting OP's asking her to leave. Also, if anyone is a leech, it's going to be OP's son. He's responsible for his guest. Update. Am I the idiot for blowing up on my son's girlfriend? Thanks for all the comments. I've spoken to my son about this issue, and you all made me realize it's deeper than just the water. I think she reacted that way when I initially told her off for filling up the bottle because, and my son helped me realize this too, I was never really nice to her to begin with in the course of their 3-year relationship. In my defense, she's only started hanging out around our house a lot about 6 months ago because she got a license. We called her on the phone this morning, and I apologized for my reaction to the bottle. I explained that I didn't mean to make her feel bad about the water. It really wasn't that big of a deal, and I felt silly for making it a big deal. She apologized for having an attitude and explained how she could feel a little defensive around me sometimes. I told her and my son that I would work on my attitude. My husband still thinks that she's being disrespectful, but I explained that I was the reason she felt the need to act that way in the first place. It's not my choice who my son decides to date, and I need to respect his choice. I think she's a sweet girl, and I feel horrible for how I treated her. Again, thank you to everyone for making me realize my mistake. P.S. I have looked into purchasing a Brita pitcher and to see if that's more cost-effective. My son's girlfriend now brings water from home, although I didn't tell her to do that. I, 34 female, and my husband, 33, hosted a dinner for both of our families on Saturday. My sister Ava, 30, and my brother-in-law, John, 32, have never gotten along. They have different opinions and different worldviews as a whole. I won't go into specifics about their views because I don't want people to judge based on who they agree with politically. The evening before dinner, I sent a message on the family group chat asking people not to discuss politics over dinner as it made everyone awkward. Everyone agreed, and everything seemed to be going fine when everyone arrived. John and Ava spoke briefly. It was a little uncomfortable, but everyone was civil. About halfway into the evening, I left with my husband to go and grab everyone some more drinks, and we came back to find the table in chaos. Ava and John were both yelling at each other and hurling insults. I asked what had happened, and my other brother-in-law explained that they'd started arguing again. Ava and John both said that wasn't true, and Ava said that John was being a misogynistic pig. Just to clarify, he hadn't actually said anything misogynistic about her. He had just made a comment she disagreed with. I said I didn't care if he was misogynistic. All I cared about was having a regular dinner without them arguing. I told them they could shut up and keep their opinions to themselves, or leave. Ava left, and John stayed for the rest of an awkward dinner. Both of them are angry with me and are insisting they're in the right. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot, simply because you don't want to state what brother-in-law actually said. I'm pretty sure it was misogynistic, and you just don't want to risk being wrong. Your sister should not have to sit there and listen to offensive views about her gender. If anyone should have been kicked out, it should be your brother-in-law. And if I were your sister, I'd be cutting you off because you keep making your home unsafe. Exactly. John broke the rules, and you didn't kick him out. You don't have to spell out who you agree with. It's pretty clear. You can choose to be a carpet for your brother-in-law to wipe his feet on, but don't expect your sister to do the same. Kudos to your sister for standing up for women and not dealing with misogyny. You should use her as an inspiration to change and challenge your own views. Last month, my girlfriend and her kindergarten-age son moved in with me. I have 4 sons, ages 27 to a young teen, and a daughter, teen. My house has 5 bedrooms, 3 for the kids upstairs and a bedroom in the basement. I originally built a bedroom in the basement for my eldest son, and then when he moved out, it went to my next oldest. My 19-year-old son is now in his sophomore year of college in a different state. Originally, when he left for college, my teen son begged for his brother's room, but I told him no. All the kids had their own rooms upstairs, and I wanted my son to still have a space to come back to. He ended up living with me for almost all of last summer, as he was working nearby and was still dating his high school girlfriend. My girlfriend and I have been dating for around 1.5 years. She's a single mom and hasn't received child support from her son's father. She's been struggling financially for as long as I've known her, and she refuses whenever I try to help her financially. Recently, I convinced her to move in with me so she could achieve her goal of going back to college. To accommodate her son, I gave my teen son the basement bedroom and gave his room to my girlfriend's son. I let my 19-year-old know in advance I was doing this and bought a pull-out couch for the den in the basement so that it could be his space whenever he wanted to stay at home. I knew my son was upset because the basement has been his space for so long and he still visits home regularly. As I was making over a bedroom for the stepson, I decided to give all the bedrooms a makeover, as it had been a while. All the kids got new paint, some got new furniture, and some other decorative type things. My daughter sent him video and pics of some of the rooms, and he replied back with something super passive aggressive about me only giving the rooms a makeover now that he's moved out and my girlfriend's moved in. I gave him a call to talk to him because I didn't understand why he was so upset. He said hurtful things about my girlfriend when he had previously liked her and told me it felt like I was pushing him out of the house for good. I tried to reason with him, but he wouldn't listen. Am I the idiot? He lives most of the year in a different state for college and is an adult. Is it wrong for me to give away his bedroom? As someone who grew up in a shoebox of a house, always shared a bedroom, and shifted rooms more than once, I say, not the idiot. You're making room and trying to accommodate the kids living in the home full time. Sure, it sucks for your kid in college, but heck, he still has a home to come back to. You aren't kicking him out on the street. You are the idiot. You didn't let our teen son have the basement room, despite begging, but are letting the stepkid have his own room and give the teen what he wants because of it, not because he asked. He probably has yet to complain as he's getting what he originally wanted, the basement, but he'll see and probably feel it too. This will, to all of your children, make it sound like you're prioritizing her kid over your own, which you are. Yeah, bam, you gave it up for your girlfriend's kid. You've done something for the new kid that you didn't do for yours. This will upset all of them. They aren't saying anything as they've got upgrades, whereas the 19-year-old, who's been downgraded and feels slighted, has nothing to lose by complaining. Yeah, this is the problem. The 19-year-old one is at school and doesn't have a permanent home. He thought of dad's as his home. Most kids spend time after college at home trying to land a good job or saving enough to find a place to live. He no longer has that option. In addition, OP's only been dating her for like a year and a half. Moving families in together at this point is really an aggressive timeline, and it sounds like the decision has been made partially due to financial reasons, which is never a good reason to make this level of change that will have such a huge impact on so many lives. I, female 28, and my husband 32, have been married for 7 years and have a young grammar school-age son. I like to dress in clothes that make me feel beautiful and confident, such as short dresses, skirts, stylish tops, etc. My husband says he doesn't care about what I wear, but he always makes passive-aggressive comments about how I'm drawing attention or provoking other men. He also gets uncomfortable when I hang out with my friends, a mixed group of men and women. He says he trusts me but not my friends and is afraid they might try something with me. Sometimes he calls or messages me when I'm out, asking where I am, who I'm with, and when I'll be back. He says he's only concerned about my safety, but I feel he's controlling and jealous. I've tried talking to him about this, but he says I should be more respectful to him and our marriage and stop acting like a single woman. He says I'm the woman of his life and he doesn't want to lose me. I love my husband, but I also love my freedom. I don't want to change my identity or how I express myself because of him. I'm not doing anything wrong or disrespectful. I just want to be happy and enjoy life. I don't want to hurt him, but I also don't want to feel suffocated by him. Am I the idiot? Edit. Unfortunately, I think he's considering a separation. He hasn't said anything, but I believe he no longer considers us compatible. Not the idiot. Your husband has some very misogynistic and irrational ideas. To begin with, wearing ugly clothes and constantly informing him about your location will not make you safer. His beliefs are not only misogynistic, but also factually wrong. Moreover, attempting to keep you away from friends is textbook abusive behavior. Getting married does not make you his property, yet here he is, policing your appearance, your free time, and even your choice of friends. Provoking other men to do what exactly? And does he get provoked by random women? If so, what does it make him do? You'll never be able to resolve this problem when he constantly lies about his motivations for snotty comments and controlling behavior. OP, I'm also concerned that your partner may be tracking you. I would check to ensure there isn't tracking software hidden on your phone or car. I think he's considering a separation. I believe he no longer considers us compatible. Possibly it's a projection. He thinks you're trying to cheat because that's what he's doing. He thinks your friends aren't trustworthy because he isn't trustworthy. He thinks you're not compatible because he's already found someone else. I'm sorry, OP. My husband and I have 3 biological children together. He adopted my child from a prior relationship, and I'm a stepmother to his adult child. My husband was divorced from my stepdaughter's mom. She was 8 when my husband and I became serious, and my son was still a baby. But not long after, my stepdaughter's mom died. My husband and I had talked about marrying before she died, and we delayed it for a couple of years to allow my stepdaughter time to grieve and adjust to the changes in her life. This was with the help of therapy, of course. We knew a child who lost someone so close would need extra help. Now my stepdaughter's 20, my son is a tween, and our children together are preschool to young grammar school age. So what happened here is my stepdaughter and her boyfriend recently moved into a house together. She asked for help setting up their dining room, and we all went over to help her. Her house is covered in photos. The landing had them, the living room, the kitchen, etc. There was not a single photo of her siblings in the house, or me, but it was not seeing one of the kids that led to this. She had her parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, her cousins, and friends. But there was no sign of the kids anywhere. All of the photos with her dad were older ones from before we met. My kids noticed because they were excited to look around her house. I couldn't help but notice because her boyfriend had so many of his siblings, and because there were some, that felt like deliberate choices to make sure she used photos that didn't contain her siblings, including extended family photos from years ago with my husband's side that were taken before her dad and I met. And we know she has photos with her siblings. I always knew she wasn't super crazy about her siblings. I always hoped as she got older, she would feel love for them. But it feels like she doesn't think of them as family or special enough to be included. The 3 kids who noticed were hurt. My husband tried to assure them it was likely an oversight on her part and called her the next day to ask. She said she only wanted photos with people she considered family and didn't consider us family. We were all invited to our housewarming party, but the kids didn't want to go. My husband and in-laws were shocked and said they had to go, of course. I argued that they didn't and told them I would stay home with them. They argued back to me that the kids needed to be there. I said they didn't need to be there, and I wouldn't force them to go when they already felt hurt. My husband and in-laws think I'm unreasonable. Am I the idiot? You're not the idiot to let your kids choose to stay home. And yay for not raising hypocrites, OP. Sorry that your husband and in-laws still think appearances matter more than kindness and inclusion. I'm sure that's not what your husband wants to hear, but you can't force a relationship. Yep, absolutely this. Stepdaughter demonstrated her utter disregard for her half-siblings and OP and doubled down by explaining that they aren't family. And the half-siblings have chosen to demonstrate their disappointment and hurt by boycotting stepdaughter's party. OP wishes to join them. Fair enough. Everyone's entitled to feel their feelings, but honesty forbids anyone, including Daddy, from demanding that 4 people agree to attend a command performance just because someone momentarily wants to play happy family. That ship sailed. Can you imagine what she might say when asked who the kids are at the party? If she doesn't consider them family, she likely hasn't mentioned her siblings to anyone, or even that she has a stepmother. Had the kids gone to the housewarming party, they might have been further battered by their sister's rudeness. Not the idiot. You're just protecting your kids. She already said loud and clear that you're not her family. So what's left to be said? My wife Amy, 43, and I, 44 male, have a biological son, Ethan, teen, an adopted son, Aiden, teen, and a daughter, Gracie, tween. We adopted Aiden and Gracie 10 years ago. We've talked about colleges for a while with the boys, and they both want to stay together wherever they go. We have college funds for all 3 children in the same amount, so they can afford to go if they decide to. My mother died and left me a lot of money, and I used it to fund their accounts, as I thought this was more important than paying off our mortgage, which we're comfortable paying each month. The more the boys talk about college, the more Amy gets upset with how much money it's going to cost. This all ended up in a huge argument between us, and her calling me an idiot. She's happy to fund Ethan's college, but only part for Aiden and Gracie. I told her this wasn't fair, as they're all our kids, not just Ethan. He doesn't mean more just because he has our DNA. I told her it was my inheritance, and I could do what I wanted with it, and I wanted to make sure the kids had a good start to life. She said that she deserves stuff too, and me spending all the money on the kids means she doesn't get what she wants. She left a few days ago, and I haven't heard anything from her. I thought the kids didn't hear the fight, but today Aiden came down and told me he was sorry for causing a fight between us, and that he's grateful that I stood up for him and Gracie. My heart went out to him, and I said that I would always stand up for him and that I loved him and Gracie. He said, I know, but I'm not sure about Mom. So, am I the idiot? Should I compromise a bit to keep Amy happy? Not the idiot. Make sure the money is in funds tied directly to each child, and your wife doesn't have access. You may even want to talk to a lawyer about how to make sure the money's not touchable in a divorce settlement if it comes to that. I don't trust someone who could think and speak that way about children that they've been raising for a decade. I was thinking the same. In the event of divorce or death, do you have the money already secured for the children so she doesn't have access to any of it? Sorry, but the wife is untrustworthy. I could never do such a thing to my bio and stepchildren. Is she upset you're contributing to your adoptive kids and is saying you should do less so that she can have more money? Or should all the kids have less money so she can have some? Either way, she's the idiot. And then she just up and left for days? So yeah, perhaps consider whether you want to be with a partner that throws a fit and then leaves for days when she doesn't get what she wants at the expense of her kids. But I wonder what your wife wants so much that she would torpedo her relationship with her children for. Why is she under the impression she can't get it without withholding a portion of the kids' college funds? You say you're paying the mortgage comfortably, but what about other bills? Does your wife have secret debt? Gambling issues? OP, something's not making sense here. What was she like when the topic of adoption came up? Whose idea was it? She wants a new car and a big flashy holiday. The adoption was her idea, as her cousin and his wife were losing custody of the kids. Sadly, they are no longer with us and haven't contributed to their upbringing at all. I work full-time and pay all the mortgage and bills. She works part-time just for something to do. She keeps her money. She likes to spend money on stuff we don't need. Are you saying that your adopted kids are related to your wife? It was already bad, but wow, it keeps getting worse and worse. Holy smokes, she has that kind of resentment toward them that she'd deny the kids she wanted you to adopt as a couple because they were the biological children of her cousin and his wife. You're a father in the best possible way to all your children. I'm so sorry you have to go through this mess with your wife, though. I'm sorry that Aiden and his sister have had such a cruelly harsh reality crash down on them about their mom because of her gluttonous greed for money and stuff. Update. Am I the idiot for treating my adopted children like my biological child? Thank you for all your comments. The house is in my name as I inherited it from my grandfather. I took out a mortgage to remodel when we adopted the kids. All 3 kids are in therapy. Ethan doesn't necessarily need it, but he feels like he's missing out on something, so he goes too. They have group and separate therapy, which was recommended to us. Amy left a few days ago. She's safe with her sister, but has not contacted us in any way. I hoped she would at least contact the kids, but no. I can't be with her anymore as I can't see how she can repair the relationship with the kids. Her coming back now would be detrimental to their well-being, and it's something I can't risk. In no way will I abandon Amy, though. I love her with all my heart, and if there's something going on that I don't know about, then she needs help, and her family abandoning her will cause more harm than good. I am willing to support her, but not be a couple at the moment. If it's just that she's greedy and selfish, then she can forget about having any kind of relationship with me. I guess I'll find out in the next few months. Also, I don't think Ethan is my biological son, and Aiden and Gracie are my adopted children. They're all of my kids, so biological and adopted aren't words I use daily when describing my children. Thank you. I knew I was in the right, but sometimes you need a stranger to say it and point out some things that you may have missed. Thanks for the update. She's jealous of the kids that lost their parents, kids that need love. She's greedy. She only thought of the things she wanted. She has a house and doesn't need anything, but wants to deprive these kids of a future for what? Stuff? I'd never let her set foot in that house again. Poor Aiden had to hear that too. She's Cruella. Thank goodness they have you, a parent who loves and cares equally for them. If you were struggling and Amy were working multiple jobs to survive, I could understand her hoping for some of the inheritance to ease her burden, but she works part-time for something to do. If she wants more, she can work for it. I'm confident you'll find a way forward for yourself and all your children. I, 31 male, recently completed my PhD and a postdoc position. I only made a little money during that period, about $26K annually for my PhD, and about $32K while working as a postdoc. My wife, 30, who I married when I got my PhD, makes a crap load more than me and made a crap load more than me. She made about $100K while we were together, so there was quite a bit of a gap. She also came with the idea that we should put away some of our income for ourselves and for the family, which would be proportional to our income to keep it fair. She always got a bit fancier stuff than me, and I was pretty jealous. I didn't voice it to her, which I guess I should have, but I don't understand how she doesn't realize it. While I was working as a postdoc, I made connections with a couple of people who were starting up a company. Long story short, last year I made $300K without including my stake in the company. It is obviously risky, but I think the risk is paid off, for me at least. I did get a Tesla Model S, which I'm entirely paying with my own money, including the insurance. And I'm starting to buy more expensive stuff for myself too, and it honestly feels amazing. Now she's asking if we should combine our incomes and get the same amount of our money, which feels like total BS. She wants to eat her cake and have it too, and I just said no, she wasn't being fair. She then went on a spiel about equity, which I honestly didn't listen to, so she can make that suggestion, but I am allowed to say no, right? Am I the idiot? I didn't voice it to her, which I guess I should have, but I don't understand how she doesn't realize. So you resented her for years and expected her to read your mind or something? Instead, you're complaining that your wife voices the same feelings you've had for years but didn't communicate. She might have agreed to revisit the agreement if you'd only asked. Maintaining the agreement is fair, but you're doing this out of spite, not for fairness' sake. You are the idiot. How did you get a PhD when you can't communicate simple things? Sheesh. You were working on the PhD and postdoc for what, 8 years? During that time, she supported your butt, keeping a roof over your head and food on the table. She made it possible for you to concentrate on your studies and earn your PhD. The only thing you're going to earn now is a divorce. Hope that's what you want. Agreed. Ugh. Unfortunate reminder to never provide for a man, because there's a chance he's secretly competing with you and/or quietly building resentment. When said dude advances in his career, he'll quickly switch up on you. Not all men, just enough to make the stereotype prevalent. Stay safe out here, girls. As a kid, I always looked up to my older sis because she was so cool, pretty, and a popular girl. I always tried to be like her, dress like her, listen to her music. You get the idea. I was popular the first time I stepped through the high school door because I was basically a copy of her. I was overwhelmed by the attention, but quickly found out she was most popular with only the guys. She dated many of the guys in our high school, and they thought I would too. I was so embarrassed. I had her mom take me out to buy new clothes and everything. Whatever she did, I went the opposite way. She wore tons of makeup. I wore none. She listened to a certain type of music, but I didn't. We went to different colleges. Fast forward to now, Sis must have figured out her lifestyle wasn't healthy, so she stopped dating a bunch of men, deleted all those apps, and met Sam. He's handsome with a great personality and a fantastic job. He was smart, funny, outgoing, and could own the entire room when he walked in. He grew up in a different city, so his family doesn't live here, but we've met and they're amazing, just like him. Sam quickly replaced us as Mom's favorite child and became our dad's best friend. He eventually proposed and everyone was over the moon. I was very happy for Sis. Last week, she came to my door looking like a complete wreck. She was crying so hard she couldn't talk. After an hour or so, I calmed her down enough to get the story. Apparently, they were at a party and were mingling separately when he overheard some guys talking about her popularity. Sam joined the group and got her dating history. 2 of the guys in that group dated her, and about 4 other guys at that party did too, one of whom works with him, which is why they were there. He heard the guys laughing about how all the men in town were depressed when she went away to college, but rejoiced when she came back. So when they got home, he asked her, and she told him the truth, and he left without saying a word. I helped Sis, and she's been staying with me for now. She hasn't told anyone and has been trying to get in touch with Sam and his family, but they're all ignoring her. Everyone on our side is super confused because Sam just disappeared. Our cousin, my best friend, pinned me down the other day to ask what happened. I told her and she was appalled. She called him all sorts of names and said he was insecure. I said I could understand from his view as we live in a small town, and it's hard to know many men and your coworkers know your future wife. Then my cousin and I got into it. She said I should be supporting my sis no matter what. I argued that I was supporting her, but supporting doesn't mean I have to agree with her. Now I might lose my best friend. Edit. We're all in our 30s, graduated college, and living independently. Hard, you are the idiot. You sound pretty smug and judgmental. That was her past. Sister isn't like that now. She met a great guy who's apparently judging her past. In my honest opinion, he wasn't the right one for her anyway if he's like that. Is he untouched? I agree with your friend. You should be supporting your sister. You also sound like you're crushing on Sam. That was my first thought too. Sister is jealous and has a crush on Sam. From a male point of view, none of those guys had the quality to keep her. Everyone happily took advantage of her, but now acts like she's to be outcast and blamed. What a bunch of worms. Sam had many good qualities, but because he found out that she had a life before him, what a surprise. He leaves without a word? Don't defend him and put all the blame on him just for leaving without a word. That's incredibly misogynistic. If she had been a guy, it would have been fine. As a woman, I always ask myself that question in any situation. Would it be the same if this was a man doing it? Would she have left him if he slept around in high school? And her friends were all talking about it. Or is this a situation created by her exes, trying to act alpha around her new man? Crowding around talking about what? Gross frat guy behavior? And it doesn't seem like you like your sister that much. You have a terrible opinion of her. Controversial opinion, but I would hate to be in a room and find out that my fiancé slept with half the people in the room. I would feel lied to because a lie and omission is still a lie. If he had told me his dating history before then, I could have been prepared for what may happen or what people say. So in my early 20s, I got into business with a man, Eric, who stole all my money and left me in debt. I sued and lost because I was an idiot who blindly trusted this man and didn't do things correctly to protect my rights. He was also a smart man who probably made a living by stealing from people. I went to therapy, paid the debts, and learned from that lesson. 30 years later, I found out that my daughter's fiancé, Jake, who she's been with for 4 years, is the son of that darn thief. I liked Jake, and he always seemed like a great man. I know this sounds stupid, which I clearly am at times, but despite knowing Jake's last name and his father's first name, it went over my head that Jake's father had the same name as that crap criminal. His first and last name is so common that I never connected the dots, I guess. That is, until I was at my daughter's apartment with Jake and his mother. I saw Jake's father's name written on one of the wedding invitations, and as soon as I saw the full name written on the paper, it clicked. I was shocked and terrified, so I excused myself and went back home to do some internet stalking to make sure this was the same guy. It was. I was so angry and confused that I went back to my daughter's apartment and told them that Jake's father had stolen my money and ruined my life. I probably seemed like a lunatic trying to explain this to all of them. It's been 2 weeks since I found out. Jake believes I lied about his father stealing from me because I lost the case. My daughter is clearly confused, and she says she believes me, but refuses to postpone the wedding after all this was uncovered. Jake's mom, who divorced Eric years ago, is accusing me of waiting until this moment to reveal this information because I want to sabotage the wedding and back out of helping her pay for the wedding after promising to do so. I feel so conflicted. I'm angry that this piece of crap somehow barged into my life again. I don't trust Jake because I have no idea how much he truly knows about his father. His father raised him for most of his childhood. I'm worried about my daughter, and I feel so stupid for not realizing this when Jake talked to me about his family, which was probably a year ago when they got engaged. I feel sick to my stomach, and I've been begging my daughter to reconsider and just take more time to think before marrying Jake. Everyone around me except my sister, who saw firsthand what this guy did to me, thinks I'm an idiot for burdening my daughter and Jake with this information and for trying to convince my daughter to at least postpone the wedding. Am I the idiot for wanting my daughter to rethink her relationship because of all of this? Not the idiot. Apples sometimes don't fall far from the tree. I would definitely want to know if I was marrying into a family that has a thief. Is your daughter getting a prenup? What a weird coincidence. You should probably try to be less emotional about it when talking with your daughter. Poor thing. That's a scary thing to find out about your fiancé's family at the 11th hour. But honestly, if anyone had done something like that to my mom, I would have some serious second thoughts about marrying the son. You are the idiot. I get it. It hurts. And you feel blindsided and tricked and confused and icky. You've had an emotional reaction. But this emotional reaction is not fair to your daughter, nor is your request to postpone the wedding, to at least postpone the wedding, which reads like you'll be trying to convince her to cancel it. Your daughter's engaged to Jake, not Eric. Limit your exposure to Eric and let your daughter live her life. Agree. I believe you are kind of the idiot for projecting the way you view this man who hurt you onto his son, with whom you stated you had no problems prior to finding out who his father was. My father's a raging alcoholic, and I don't even have a beer a year. Your DNA doesn't determine who you are as a person, so try your best to separate your views of those two people. OP said Eric raised Jake. Eric's a con artist. Kids learn to lie from people like Eric and are taught that it's perfectly fine to screw people before they screw you. Look at how Jake's first reaction was to tell OP, well, you lost the case, so you're lying. He's very naive at how the laws and trials can work, or he's just like Daddy. OP, you will absolutely need to sit down and have a longer and calmer discussion with your daughter and her fiancé about this. My husband, 35, does not have a car. He sold his old one to help pay for his brother's wedding. I disagreed with this, but he had this car before we got together, so it's not a shared property. Besides that, I have my own car, so that didn't affect me until my husband started complaining about having to commute to work and hang out. He tried to get me to let him drive my car several times, but I stood firm and put a boundary, making him understand that my car would never be driven by him. One of the reasons why is because how bad his driving is. His brother lives out of town. My husband asked if he could drive my car to the wedding, but I refused, not because I was not invited, another story for another day, but because, as I said, my car is off limits. He threw a fit calling me unreasonable to let him take public transportation because he can barely stand it for 10 minutes, let alone hours. I said it wasn't my problem. That irritated him, but made him stop arguing. The day that he was supposed to travel out of town, I woke at 10 a.m. and couldn't find my car key. I went outside and couldn't find my car either. I was beyond angry. I called him, And as I expected, he took it and was on his way to the other town. I lost it and told him I gave him no permission to take it for 5 days and said that if he won't turn around with it and come home, I'd call the cops and report it missing. His response was, "You wouldn't dare do it because you know what would happen." I hung up on him, then immediately called the police and told them about my situation. I did not tell them my husband took it because they think it's a family dispute and decide not to get involved. I just reported it missing. 2 hours later, I got a call from my husband saying he was back in town and was being held at our local police station. I went to the station and talked to the cops. My husband made a scene there, swearing over and over that I permitted him to take it and that I was acting out of jealousy and spite because he was going to attend a wedding I wasn't invited to. I took my car and went home, but he had to stay a little longer. He came home in the evening and went into a rage about how I created an awful situation and almost caused him to miss his brother's wedding. He called me vindictive, bitter, and a lunatic to call the police on him and try to accuse him of stealing my car. He had to leave the same day to be able to be there with his family and decided to extend his stay and still hasn't gotten back yet. Right now, his mom and brother are blasting me for what happened and calling me spiteful. Not the idiot, but I feel that there's a lot more going on here. For example, your husband sold his car to help pay for his brother's wedding, even though he needed it to commute. Is your husband prone to making bad decisions? And he paid for his brother's wedding even though you, his wife, were not invited to it? I'm sorry, but what kind of marriage is this? Yeah, he and his brother are very close. I'm on bad terms, also we don't talk, with his brother because he kept accusing me of trying to drive a wedge between him and my husband. He can think whatever he wants, but none of his claims are true. Unfortunately, my husband and his mom think I'm the bad guy here. Lady, you need to file for divorce immediately. This relationship is toxic, and your husband is a massive, idiotic idiot. Why are you still married? I'm honestly asking because there are a lot of red flags here, on both sides. His family hates you. You weren't invited to a family wedding, in which you are a part of the family. You don't seem disappointed that you weren't invited to said wedding. He doesn't respect you or your boundaries. You care more about an object than his wants and needs. You had no problem having your husband arrested, and you clearly didn't care about his feelings around a significant family event. You make life decisions without each other. This is not a snapshot of a healthy relationship. Everyone's the idiot here. Y'all seem insufferable and like a textbook dysfunctional couple. I read stories like OP's and think, why? Why subject yourself to this? I know it sounds mean, but my brother-in-law seems to be really discriminatory towards us for being a straight couple. I am bi but have fallen in love with the man I'm going to marry. My brother and his husband were friends with my ex-girlfriend. I'm still friends with her, she's lovely, but we didn't work together. For 5 years now, I've been dating, let's call him Jack. We've decided to marry in a few months and have been planning for a while. The wedding's not big, less than 50 total guests, and we were going to give everyone in the bridal party a +1, but no one else. The thing is, my brother is one of my bridesmen. I have a maid of honor and 3 bridesmen, and my husband-to-be has a best man and mixed gender party. The last weekend, I went over to my family to hang out. Cousins played board games, and all the adults had drinks, a typical big family hangout. But my brother-in-law had a bit too much to drink and said some crappy things. And it's not the first time I've heard them, just the first time in maybe half a year. He said I was a traitor to our people for marrying a straight white man. We're white, LMAO. He said I broke up with my ex because I was ashamed of my orientation. He also was comparing my fiance with my ex. Why would you date such an ugly man after such a pretty girl? He's so poor, and you had a rich gay girlfriend. Not true. We're all middle class. Eventually, my brother took him home and my fiance took me home. I told him the next day if he couldn't apologize to us as a couple and stop being so heterophobic, he couldn't come to our wedding. My brother's saying he was just drunk and he'll behave, and our family's backing him up and telling me to let it go. But I have yet to get an apology from brother-in-law. My brother's threatening not to be in the wedding party, and I would hate that. but I would hate including his crappy husband in my wedding more. I told my brother I'd save him a piece of cake if he didn't come. Am I the idiot for insisting brother-in-law cannot come without an apology to both my husband-to-be and me? Not the idiot. And wow, do people love to judge us for not adhering to what their vision of being a queer should look like, huh? In my opinion, your brother-in-law needs to have a conversation with you and your husband in person, apologize to you both, and promise to be on his best behavior at your wedding for you to allow him to attend. He misbehaved. I think your brother will understand if you explain that his husband was hurtful and rude, and that he must take steps to clear the air if he wants to attend. This isn't about heterophobia. This is about your brother-in-law saying nasty things about your soon-to-be husband and judging your relationship. Drinking too much is not an excuse. This is absolutely the hill you should die on. He's disrespecting you, your fiancé, and your relationship. And someone who thinks that has no place at your wedding. Your brother-in-law sucks for saying those things, and your brother sucks for condoning it. Not the idiot, of course. Stand your ground. So here's the deal. My sister married a black man. We're white. We had some family who was very outspoken about not liking it. She didn't invite them. Why? Because it's her day. And if the people there can't be on her side, why even come? Why even have a situation where they'll say something awful to her new family? He needs to apologize and still doesn't need to be there. I have always had a very close relationship with my brother. He's 3 years older than me and has been a great older brother, mostly, meaning the last years. Our relationship evolved a lot over the years, and we were friends and siblings. He started dating his fiancée 6 years ago. She wanted us to be sisters. A year later, when I got married, she asked me to be my bridesmaid, even though I didn't have any. I said yes because it meant so much to her, and I even bought her an inexpensive but pretty dress since we did a courthouse thing. My brother and she got engaged in 2020. She announced it in the family group chat and that 2 of her friends were her bridesmaids. After the announcement, she started asking me for my opinion and help on stuff, which quickly turned into her asking me to run errands for her and even picking up the cost of certain things. I told her it seemed like something her bridesmaids would be doing with her, and she ignored me. She walked out of a cake store with her samples and never paid, but I was left behind, and they came after me for the money. I spoke to my brother about it. He told me to just go along for their special day. She invited my mom and I dress shopping, then tried to say I was paying for one of her accessories. I had never offered anything like that. My brother told me I didn't have to pay for it, and he talked to her. But then later she was excited and wanted something from me to wear at her wedding. I started saying no to any request for help, and she and my brother got upset. He told me he wanted me to be a part of the wedding. I found that odd since I was never asked to be at the bride or groom's party. Not that I wanted or expected to be, but given what they were saying and expecting, I felt like I was being used. I was open to both of them about this. My future sister-in-law ignored me again. My brother said he loved me, and if I wanted to be in the wedding, I should have said something. I said that wasn't the point, that I wasn't asked, but I was being brought along like I was, only to take on the expense and heavy lifting nobody else seemed to be doing. He told me I was overreacting. Then the invitation came and it was crazy. The venue is 3 states over, in a fancy hotel in an expensive area. The dress requirements on the invite also meant expensive, and to top it all off, every single gift on their registry is a minimum of $250. We can't afford all that. I spoke to my parents who were also unhappy with how demanding the invite was. So I RSVP'd no. Brother and sister-in-law asked me why. I said it wasn't worth the expense, especially when they had already gotten money out of me, given how I was expected to keep chipping in. The extended family was outraged by this. They said a sibling's wedding is always worth the cost, and I should go and support my only sibling. My brother and sister-in-law were upset by our RSVP too and tried to talk me into coming. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If it's so important to them to have you be there and help, why aren't you part of the wedding party? And if it's so important for you to be there, why not pay for your stay at least? I won't be surprised if they get lots of no's on the RSVPs. Very disrespectful and entitled of them. They're taking advantage of you under the guise of love. It's a gift grab. People can have whatever wedding they want, so long as they can afford it. Expecting other people to underwrite their lifestyle is entitled. You're setting and enforcing a healthy boundary, and it's good that you're doing it early, because this behavior on their part is likely to continue. You said it yourself. You can't afford it. That's a perfectly valid reason. I can't believe she walked out of a cake tasting without paying and left you the bill. This sounds planned to me. Your future sister-in-law is going to be a nightmare once they get married. I imagine the divorce will be even worse. I was watching my young niece while my sister took her baby to the doctor. We were talking about how her dad's birthday's coming up. My niece said she wanted to make him a cake. I said that was a brilliant idea and gave her my tablet to look up a recipe. She picked one and then started gathering ingredients in my kitchen with my little step stool. When I went to help her crack eggs, she said, "No, I'm making Daddy's cake all by myself." So I stepped back and just supervised for safety. We put the cake in the oven. I told her I would put it in the fridge to cool when it was done, and we would decorate it tomorrow. She was very excited when her mom picked her up, and my sister was excited too when she heard about it. Needless to say, the cake didn't turn out well. Ingredients weren't mixed properly. Proportions were wrong. I baked a new cake with the same recipe and pan. When she came over the next day, I presented the new cake as the one she had made, and she decorated it. Again, she wanted to by herself, but sloppy frosting tastes just as good as neat and is cuter anyway. When sister arrived to pick up her daughter and the cake, she was thrilled. We both told her she was going to be a star baker one day, and my niece was beaming. I was talking on the phone with my sister about the party tomorrow, and she's mentioned how it's incredible her daughter's first attempt at baking turned out perfect. I laughed and told her the truth, knowing my sister would keep the secret from my niece or anyone who could tell her because she's the mom. I figured she would think the story was charming and something to tell my niece when she's an adult, and star baker as a funny childhood anecdote. My sister was livid and asked what I did with the actual cake. I said I fed it to my dog because it wasn't edible. She cussed me out and hung up on me. I can't ask anyone in my social circle which of us is wrong because I don't want it getting back to my niece that she didn't make the special cake. Am I missing something? I wanted my niece to be confident and encourage her sense of independence. Did I cross a line here? Not the idiot, but your sister's a bit of an idiot if she thinks that her young child can make a perfect cake on her first attempt. I think her anger at you is due to her disappointment that she doesn't have a prodigy child. I would just keep my distance until she apologized. For the future, just bear your sister's reasoning ability in mind. Not the idiot for swapping out the cakes. It's a totally harmless thing that will make for a funny story in the future. But I don't know how good it is for the dog to eat a whole cake. But no, at the end of the day, it's not a big deal. Oh, it was a chocolate, garlic, onion, macadamia nut, rat poison cake, of course, and with grapes, just like Mom used to make. Honestly, can that aged child even read recipes? How gullible is her mom? Like, how can she be shocked her little kid couldn't bake an edible cake on her first attempt with no directions or help from an adult? This could have been a secret between you and your sister. She's being overly dramatic. I would appreciate that you let my daughter bake a cake on her own, and when you realized it wasn't edible, you made one that was. You even had her decorated. So now we can all actually enjoy eating the cake, while the face on that little girl will glow. Imagine nobody ate the cake that she made. The little girl would be upset and probably never want to bake again. If I were your sister, I'd be amazed what a fantastic aunt my child has. I'm not, but I still believe that you're awesome. Not just because you had all the ingredients on hand to make not one, but 2 cakes from scratch. We were at my mother-in-law's place for dinner, and while we were talking, mother-in-law took a minute to remind us of her birthday, which will take place next week. My husband looked at me and said, "Oh, no need to get a cake. OP will take care of it." I was taken aback because, for one, I work long hours and will be too busy next week and don't even know if I'll be able to attend. And 2, I never agreed to make the cake, nor did I have the time or money for it since it's probably expected to be fancy. So I couldn't take it when he basically offered my service without consulting me. I looked back at him and said, I never agreed to do such a thing. Can you tell me why I should do it? You never do anything for my mom. After that, the table went quiet, and everybody looked at my husband awkwardly. Given his argumentative nature, it was strange seeing him quiet like that. Once we got into the car, he yelled about how I embarrassed him and humiliated him, and how I disrespected his mother at the table. I told him he was the one who offered my service, but he said that I should have agreed or showed I was on board initially, and then told him my honest opinion at home and in private. We got home and he started sulking, saying he couldn't even look his family in the face after the childish crap I pulled at their house. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He put you on the spot in front of everyone. That's on him that your response was in front of everyone. He counted on you being quiet, not wanting to make a scene. Too bad for him. If you had shown you were on board, you would be expected to do it. If you brought it up later, he'd be asking if you didn't want to do it. Why did you say you were on board? You were put in an awkward situation and you spoke up for yourself. That's a great point, actually. I was leaning toward everyone's the idiot verdict because of the wording of OP's response, but yeah, he made himself look like the idiot. What was the alternative here? OP agreeing by default at that moment and then having to take it back later? That would seem even more awful, I think. You are the idiot. Your reply was rude, though, because it implies that you don't give a crap about your mother-in-law and would only do something for her as part of a quid pro quo. The polite response would have been, sorry, but I don't have time to make a cake this week, so I won't be able to do that. Please check with me first next time. Well, I'm not mother-in-law's biggest fan for raising such a misogynistic kid, and I'm not sure why her feeling respected should come at the cost of OP being so egregiously disrespected. Sure, she could have snuck in a line about how mother-in-law shouldn't take it personally, and she can always follow up to do that now. But OP defended herself. She reacted in anger to an angering situation, at the moment, effectively. That is an instinct too few people have, especially women who are told to prioritize politeness over self-respect. I think that's important enough to be prioritized, way, way above mother-in-law's hurt feelings.